Hey y'all, and welcome back. Just gonna continue working on my tower defense game here, and hope you can join me. Be sure to let me know in the comments if there are any suggestions you have for the game. It's early in development, so I can pretty easily make changes, and definitely will be as we move forward. Today's agenda pretty busy. I put together a little spreadsheet here. And I want to create and implement these enemy types. And what we have here is basically just what might be pretty common enemy types for a tower defense game. And I've broken them down by basic versus special. So the basics are essentially just going to be modified according to the speed that they move along the path, their health, and then the damage they inflict when they reach the goal. So those are pretty simple, and I've got 4 variations of those that I want to put in. And so thematically, those are just going to look like some sort of shades. This is a dark themed game. So for those special ones, though, which I've colored in purple, these are the ideas I have. Definitely prone to change. But I've got an ice enemy, and it's going to travel along the path. And as it moves forward, it will emit an aura or a cloud within a certain radius, essentially on the sides of the path. And if there are any towers within range of that cloud, their attack speed will be slowed temporarily until they're out of that cloud. And so I can show you what that looks like so far because I have a rough idea. So it's already up here. I went into pixelart.com and I made this little shard. And it's just it is a pixel art shard, but I'm using it as a projectile particle. And here's what that looks like. Let's pull this up. I hit the next wave button, and waves of enemies will spawn. And so here are 3 of those ice enemies. There's a transparent blue circle, and that's actually what holds the collision. This large circle here, which is that's approximately how far out those shard projectiles are moving. So the projectiles are for visual effect. The nearly transparent blue circle around them is the collision. So if there is a tower within that cloud, it's going to turn dark blue. And that's a temporary effect, but the dark blue indicates that it is slowed. And as it moves out of that cloud, it will go back to normal and fire faster. So that I'm relatively happy with at the moment. I will likely modify that blue circle to look a little more thematic, maybe more cloudy, but I'm good with that. Now these dark circles here are the basic enemy types. These are the standard shades. And that is effectively what is a medium enemy. So if I go back to my spreadsheet here, it's basically this one here. And let's make that sort of a dark orange. That orange one is essentially in the game, and I want to make other variations using that medium one as a starting point. So that one is done. You know what? Let me insert a column to the left here. And I'll just do in-game, and we'll do yes. These other ones are nearly in the game, but have much more work to do. Oops. Okay. So then, let's make the large slow shade. I'm hoping for today this will be relatively quick. I don't want to focus too long on the basic graphics. So what I have on the right here are my objects. The basic, yeah, enemy basic, that's it right there. So it has some behaviors. So in terms of the pathfinding, I've got the speed in there. And these can be modified later in the game, you know, through the program. But I can set the initial values here. So let me just go ahead and copy this, or duplicate it rather. And we'll do enemy basic, what I call it, large. Basic large, yeah. So we will do, so this is not an individual sprite, it's a bunch of particles being shot out, even though it's a little hard to see that. So I'll just make the radius of that emitter, instead of a 2, let's try 6 and see what that looks like. I'll keep everything else the same for the moment. Hold on, I need to actually put it in the game, so I'll just plop it down over here. And that's what that looks like, which is not actually any bigger or smaller. So need to do more with that. In other words, here's the side-by-side. The moving one is the existing one. So let's go back into large. I will keep the larger radius, and then I will also go to particle start size as, let's bump that up to, I don't know, 140, and end it at 110. See what that looks like. Okay, so it is bigger. And because it's bigger, the edges look a little more pixelated, but let's see. What I will probably do is add a secondary effect later on. Essentially more particles. But for now, I just want to be able to distinguish between these things. It's going to be moving more slowly. So let's go ahead and give it the enemy. Well, let's adjust the behaviors. So the max speed, let's say, we'll keep the acceleration at 300. I don't care too much about how quickly it ramps up its speed. I care about its max speed. So instead of 100, let's go ahead and half that, which is going to be very slow. And then when it has, let's see here, destroy when the object it's stuck on is destroyed. So yeah, I forgot the health is actually going to be on a separate object which is connected to it using this sticker behavior. So apply, let me add this to the enemy's group, sort of the parent class. Enemy basic large, apply, and then the enemy backer has the behaviors. And this is where I'll need to probably just adjust the, I can either adjust the backer in code, or I can create a unique backer for each enemy type. So, and I think that either would work. It should just be a matter of preference. So I need to make that decision right now. But let's go ahead and see what it looks like if I just throw this out on the path with the enemy behavior. See if it moves. It does. And when it reaches the end, it should still disappear. Poof. Poof. How do we feel about the speed? Here's the basic. The enemy basic is back here behind it. And here's the slow one. It's going to be tougher. You know, like more HP. I wonder if it shouldn't be even slower to really give it that feeling. Let's try 40. And maybe even make it just a little bit bigger. Let's give this a shot. I'm pretty good with that. You know, I can add some bells and whistles on those graphics, but in terms of getting it implemented, I'm going to move forward with that. Then let's go ahead and design the small. I mean, it's the same basic process. Let's see if we can do this in like a minute. So duplicate, enemy basic, small. I'll keep the radius of the emitter at 2. Particle start size instead of 100, let's go with 80. And let's see, 70. Behavior, speed, should be even faster than normal. So instead of 100, let's do 115. Add that to the enemies group. Apply. Throw that out here. Should be able to tell these apart. Yeah, little fast things. I mean, it works. I just wonder if... Can they actually be distinguished from each other very well? I'll say it's fine for now. And then let's add, I want like an even smaller, even faster one. And these are basically going to be one-shot kills. Only do a single point of damage. But they should be spawned in like larger numbers. So we'll call this tiny, if I can. Okay. The radius of this emitter needs to be about 1. Probably don't even need that many particles for this one. Let's try 20. Particle start size. Let's put this at 50 and end it at 30. Add it to enemies. Plop that out there. And again, this should be the fastest and the smallest, but it'll be the same color. It's about the same speed. What did I make the speed of that other one? 115. Yep, it's exactly the same speed. 130. Could even give it just like a different tint or something. Like if we do the particle, maybe the particle end color, give it some red. What would that look like? So that would make its trail a bit reddish. It's really hard to see though. Let's just put it on full royal red. Let's see what this all looks like, huh? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, pretty subtle. Almost like I need to start it off with some red too. So let me keep the gray that I have and just add red to that. Wait. No, you know what? That's going to actually lighten it. So what I had was, yeah, 139 all the way around. Let's do 180. Oh, tell you what, let's just see what that looks like. Wonder if we get any more color if I change the end opacity to, say, 25 instead of 0. Makes the trail a little more visible, doesn't it? Let's go with that. And do we want to change the tint at all on these others? For example, we could make the large one sort of bluish. And if I do this, I would like to try to keep them in the same general realm. So let me make a quick note here. This was 180, 139, 139, and then full red. So if we're going to go blue, let's do 139, 139, 180, and then full blue, some kind of blue. since it's so big, I'll keep the end opacity at 0, and hopefully that works. So this is for the large. And I cannot tell at all that I changed the color. So let's try the opacity again. We're just playing with numbers here. Like, I don't know if it's just, I do have some lighting in the scene, and that might actually be canceling out some of the blue. Makes me curious. If I hit additive rendering, what are we looking like? Well, that's definitely noticeable. Let's not do that. Kind of cool, though. Let's just check this out. Let's see if we can get blue to pop through at all. Yeah, see, it's just so dark. It really darkens the blue. Which is, I mean, I guess that's what I get for making a dark tower defense. You started off slightly lighter. We're going to roll with it. We're just going to go with it. That's the enemy large. So let's do, I'll keep the basic as the shade that it currently is. The small, need to give it a certain tint as well. I find when I add green or yellow to these, they look pretty nasty, but yeah, maybe it's fitting. So if I take that green value, make that the 180, and then the end color can be a richer green. Let's take a look. And then take this color, we'll modify it. Let's see if the green comes through. It does. Okay, so we've got some basic colors. I know it's, you know, it's not the most important thing. I'm not sure that someone who's colorblind might be able to distinguish the colors, but that's why we have the sizes as well and the speeds. So we're gonna roll with that. So this is the piece. We've put in the visuals and the basic behaviors for all of these enemies. So I can say yes, they are in the game. But what we need is to actually put in these behaviors. The speed we've done, but we need their health. So let's take a look at the health. And the way I have this structured is there's actually this sprite here. It looks like a circle, but it's actually, let me double check. I'm pretty sure it has square collision. Just to keep things simple, I kept the collision as a square. It's nothing perfect, it's just for basic, you know, for the shots to hit it. It doesn't need to be as, you know, super specific as like a live FPS or something. What I have though is the health behavior is tied to this, so that when the bullet hits that thing, it will then inflict damage. So this is what I was talking about in terms of the enemy backer. It's behind the enemy as a backer that's invisible. The opacity is set to 0. And I need to decide if I want to make one of these per enemy type, which is, again, what do we have, like 9 enemies so far planned. Even if we doubled that, that's 18. That's not really a huge unmanageable number. So I almost feel like instead of having the program pick out if the backer is linked to a particular enemy type, then to give it this number of health points. I think I want to take the multiple backer approach. So let's just give this a shot. What I will do then is duplicate this multiple times. So we'll call the first one enemy backer basic. Should probably call basic medium, huh? Oh, you know what? I just renamed the animation. I don't care about that. Basic, medium. Basic, large. Okay. So tiny on top, small, medium, large. The tiny probably doesn't change. It's going to have 0 armor. Do not allow heals to increase health above max health. And it will just start with 1 life and 1 max life. No chance to dodge, no health regen, no shield. Destroy when the object it's stuck on is destroyed. Apply. Small. Let me see, what do we put on the chart here? I say we, even though I went ahead and did this without you. Health, very low. And then health low. So obviously these numbers are going to be affected by variables later throughout the game, but this is like the base, right? This is the foundation starting point. So as a starting point for the small enemy, if the tiny is 1, probably just give the small enemy, say, 2. Start with 2 points, 2 as a maximum, and we'll just go with that for now. The medium, yeah, let's just call that I want that to be 2 as well. But the big guy is going to be 5. And I have a group for enemy backers. Let's edit the group. Add all of those in there. And then yeah, I think for those, the damage is going to just be contingent on, I think, just my code when they reach the end. the end is this point here that I put within your home structure. And when they touch that, that's when the damage is inflicted. And I have a lot of work to do there, but currently what it is looking like is enemy reaches end. So yeah, basically I need to create a subgroup here, or a sub event, and it'll say let's go with let's try the large as an experiment. Enemy backer basic large is stuck to enemies. Then I need to also create a temporary sub event to move these behaviors to. So I'm just going to delete this particular behavior there. Let me just duplicate this one and then invert the condition. So I want to specifically test to see for the large enemy hitting the endpoint. And it'll be these events here. And I will copy and paste them in here. And then I will cut and paste them into this other one for all other enemy types. So for the large though, let's go and just take away like a huge amount, let's say 200, just for starters. So what this should do is it should look for the enemy backer that is stuck to the enemy. If the enemy has this particular sticker, it should do these things. If it does not have that sticker, it should do these things. That's my mindset, but let's give it a shot and see if there are any bugs and how we can fix those. Oops. Yeah, there's a bug right there. I think I need to do... take another look at that. Looks like it's triggering multiple times within the same instant, which was a problem I had before I changed these items here. So I had been using a trigger once condition, But then I was having problems when there were multiple enemies hitting the end at the same time, and it was still actually only triggering once, which was unintended behavior. So let's see if we can still do that. So it deducted the 50 points from the first one, and this is the issue I was having. That first one hit, here's a large. Yeah, the first one hit, it successfully deducted the 50 points, but then it's still, the event is still true, and I said trigger once while true. And so for that reason, it's not executing the rest of the events. So let me see. I know there's a quick workaround for this. Let me just take a quick swig of coffee here. If the Boolean value of variable in end of object enemies is true, you know, I'm not even gonna lie. I know that there's a simple solution for this. It's not popping into my mind. So to not waste time, I'm going to switch over and do just a little bit of art. For the ice, actually not for the ice. Now we have this enemy, the Shielder, and I have not created this one yet. The Shielder is going to be a monster, a medium style enemy that will shield allies, nearby allies. And so what I have in mind is it's going to have a radius, and any enemies within that radius will receive shielding. So what I could do is have a shield applied to each individual enemy, or I could have it drop shield, like let's say a bubble, out onto the pathway. Then anything in that bubble would be protected as they pass through it. And so I haven't fully decided which approach I want to take. And so I think that, well, I guess I want to play around with that. So we need some starter graphics for this bubble thing. And so let's go and pull up just some old pixel art and start drawing. Let's go with, might actually need like 200 by 200. Color palette, I'll probably keep it on grayscale and then modify it in-game. Let's see here. Gray. Obviously, you won't need just a ton of colors. Let's It's mostly going to be transparent. So let's go with something like this. New drawing. And start with a circle. All right. Done. We have a circle. Yeah, what I'm thinking is I don't want a black ring. I actually want I just want to be able to see where my edge is. I don't actually want the edge to be black. So let's grab white. White. Grab some white here. Put that over the black. Then we'll work inwards from there. Let me pull up a quick reference. I mean, you know, something like this maybe. Without the people in the middle. So we'll have some bright edges. We could do 2 points of the light source. This is not a 3D world, not truly 3D, so we're not going to be able to like move it around in the game. And if you ever watch a bubble float through the air, it might actually rotate, but the lights on the ball, on the sphere, do not actually change position. Those only change based on, you know, movement relative to the light source that the bubble is reflecting. So I was considering, do I want to animate this shield? I don't think I would animate the actual reflections that are on the bubble, but I could add some twinkle effects. So I think we'll do just a single sprite, and then we could maybe add some effects later. You know, have some more basic reference art here, just a little bit of color, a little bit of color. So let's do something kind of like that. And then what I'll do is probably add some transparency into the mix afterward. Now the color would also have to be added afterward, right? Because I picked a grayscale. Which is fine, we're not making a soap bubble, it's a shield. So then I think what I'll do is, let me just fill this with a some kind of dark gray. And then we will fill it in from there. Okay. Does this not actually have the white? It does not. The edges of the sphere, I don't like this. Right here. The edges of the sphere, I do not like right here. Look how flat that's going to be. Oh boy. Alright. Let's back up. And let's do... Let's fill that with the gray right now. And what I would need is something more like this. Because for whatever reason, this program is not letting me draw the circle exactly. It's 1 pixel off on the far X and Y points. So I'm going to have to exclude those. Let me back this all the way up. Don't worry, we're gonna get this. Okay. Got a brush we're working with here. Let me see, I think there is a way to do... Go to Tool, go to Solid Color, Trail Brush with each stroke. I think the trail does look better. Because if you look at the edges of a bubble, or this bubble, the light is stretched as it follows the curve of the sphere. Obviously, this would be way easier with like a trackpad. I really need to get one. You know what? I also don't want the inside to have any of this purple. Actually, no, I can leave the purple, I think, as long as I'm not modifying the purple. Can I, yeah, there we go. Because then when I move it over to my photo editor, I can just remove all of that pixel color. So as long as it's not turning it, I think that it is actually turning some of it into more of a light pink. That would be a problem. Maybe I should test that out real quick here. Let me just make a little bit of progress. right. Yeah, honestly, I think I'm going to keep this pretty basic, and then I can add like some solar flares or something like that to give it a bit of pop. Let me just keep this pretty dang basic. And then we're just going to roll with it. Take some of that out. Any true artist would despise this work, but we are given the tools that we have available to us. Maybe like one more little line somewhere in here. Let me get back to white. And didn't even end up using the grayscale, did I? We could go a couple shades darker, I suppose. Kind of larger brush than that. Shoo. You know what? This is kind of toughish. So let me see if I can cheat a little bit. Let's go to 35, 35. Create a circle out from there. Put the cursor at 170, 170. See what that looks like. Let's call it 165, 165. And then I will grab some of that purple and then paint away some of this. Actually, that's rather annoying. Why does that have two colors in here? There we go. We'll just spray paint over some of this. It's almost like it needs a little taken off right in here. Come on, Bubble, I believe in you. You can do it. I'm fully aware there are graphics out there, even free license and stuff. I'm trying to use my own handiwork as much as possible, and then when I run into a real snag, I am going to leverage third-party resources. But maybe that could be a vanity thing. I see it as a bit of a personal challenge, and something like this I don't feel is something I need to compromise on. I don't need to go to a third-party source for something quite this small, because I have a few tricks I can do to polish it up, and it's going to be small enough in game. I think it'll work. I think we're all right. We're going to bring the ship home. Let me close. I'm even going to close the reference art. Let's go. Let's see. I had different plans. I was going to do more of a grayscale here. But let me just go ahead and switch this over. Let me just save it. Yeah, maybe we even have some color options here. But so I mean, we could go grayscale. I'm just using this purple here as a reference to see what needs to be removed. So I'm not aware that pixelart.com has a way to change to transparency, to change a single color to transparent. So because of that, I'm going to use the method that I know. Let's save that. Actually, I want to do one more thing. I'm just going to try to put a little more of a gap between the edge here. Oops. I'm drawing like gray all over this thing. Okay, so I started that at 190. Let's back it up a bit. Yeah, I mean, basically right there. So I'll just go back in here now and just do some of this by hand. There are multiple shades of this pinkish color in here, which is what I was afraid of. But I just want to give this a bit of sharpness. Honestly, I just enjoy it. Placing the pixels is always a bit relaxing. Anytime I do like a game jam, I find myself doing a combination of either 3D assets or pixel art, because the 3D, even if it's like a 2D game, I take a 3D asset, depending on the game engine I'm using, which usually is not one of the big dogs. It's usually an like a lesser known, like Greenfoot or GDevelop or something, more 2D based. So I'll take a 3D asset, I'll spin it, take my however many frames I want to get basically sprites out of a 3D object, or I use pixel art. And so those are the methods I'm most familiar with, but the pixel art itself is fun because it's like coloring, Don't know how interesting it would be to watch someone else do it. Probably infuriating. All right, that's a little bit cleaner. I'm just going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to throw it into GIMP 2.0. And oh, there was one other thing that I thought might be cool. So cool is to just take... So thinking about what we're doing here, we're putting this into the game. Let's pull the game up. It's going to sit in the world. It's going to sit out there along this pathway. And if it's sitting out on the pathway, like for example, here's a crappy bubble. It would sit there, and it would be transparent, of course. But it would, in this case, really be... It would be spherical, but in the real world sense, it would not be a full-blown sphere because it would reach the ground. So it would have a flat bottom. So it would be a dome on the ground rather than a full-blown sphere. And so I was thinking we need to put a base on this thing where it would actually be sitting, and then remove the rest. So let me see, I know I've brought this down that far already. Let me also get rid of some of these. I put all these gray spots on here. What is going on? Oh, it's because I'm right-clicking. I thought right-click was just cancel, but it's cancel and it's paint at the same time. But in other words, if I were to drag this across and make a circle, that is basically where the sphere or the dome would be sitting. And then I would crop out the bottom part. So I might make 2 versions of this thing. Let me save this. I'll just call it bubble. All right, go to image. Let's download that. Let's get it over here into our photo editor. Boom, got rid of the pink. Most of it. There's a little bit in there. But if it goes grayscale, it might not be a problem. So let's do that. We're going to use even if we just desaturate it. I know there's a difference, but that'll work for this purpose. So let's just take this. I want to duplicate it because I don't want to ruin the original. And GIMP crashes sometimes, so let me save the project as well. I'll just call it bubble. Okay, and then let me duplicate the layer, hide the original, and this is the part that I need to crop the bottom off. So let me see. I hate drawing in this app, but all I need is a circle. Let me double check something here. Okay. We're just going to create another here. It'll be way faster. Once we get this into the game, we can actually create the shielding enemy, which will be pretty fun. It'll be the second special we have so far. So, grab the old circle. How far down do we want this? looking at the world, if we were to cut this bubble off, how low would we want it? It would probably be bigger. Like, for example, if I delete those out and then edit and then erase, like say here, or not there. Let's say we erase the bottom part here and then save it. Oh, and then this would have been transparent on the inside. Save. So something like this, if that were out in the world, and it's sitting along the pathway like that, and the enemies are going through it. We'll give it a shot. We'll do something along that line of where the bottom is cut off. I'm thinking something like this. And then maybe even something like this. Actually, I don't need to remove the outside there, I just need to take out the middle. So something like that. And then I need to decide if I want to remove that bottom curve. Would that look best? It's kind of hard to tell without putting it in the game, huh? Let's save. Kind of want to join these. Let's save that one. Save it as bubble 1 new. Okay, let's get that one over into GIMP as well. No, let's not even. Let's put that straight into the game. And I'll add special effects later. So let's change the sprite on this thing. Add sprite. Delete the original. Edit. Now this editor is nifty because it does come with a transparency fill tool. Not sure. Yeah, part of the problem was all these. Okay, well, you know, GIMP is really good at removing, coloring a particular, well, changing a particular color to alpha transparency. In this case, what I could do is, you know, go to like some sort of a grayscale, and then this wouldn't look as goofy. It would just look like some reflection stuff. Maybe that's fine. Bubbles have reflections, so let's see what that would look like. And save that. Let me apply. Throw that out into the world. So there's a rough idea of how it's actually going to look. Let's do an instant replay. So I'm thinking this bottom part of the curve should come off. And I could even add like another back part there, which might look pretty decent. So in other words, that would be coming here. Wait, where am I? Wrong tool. Could even do it in the GDevelop editor. Let me take a look here. Let's add another frame. Actually, not that one. Let's duplicate it. And then this would be eraser tool. Erase all this bottom part of the bubble off. And then Yeah, so now it'll just sit, you know, not square on the ground, but it'll have this flat point of connection on the ground. So the other part I was thinking about was doing another part of the circle. But I'll only want 1/2 of it though. So let me select white, and it would be about that size. But I want to make sure it's along the same curvature. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty dang close. Let's go with that. Not perfect, but pretty close. Let's start removing some of it. Not even sure, you know, it could be, let me duplicate that one and then start modifying it. Don't even have to keep all of it. Obviously remove this stuff here on the bottom. And have you ever struggled with any creating any assets for your game or any other projects you might have worked on? In this part here, like, I don't necessarily want it to look like an exact mirror. I just wanted it to be along the same curvature. So it's like, how much of it do I want to leave in there? It could just be a portion of the line, like maybe just a bit of light was catching it, something. It could be a bit weaker. I don't like that. All right, and then we're gonna put that into the game. So I'm gonna take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Okay, and I am back. So let me go ahead and put this bubble into the world. I don't want these other frames. So I will delete them out. That was just the one frame. I could animate it popping up into the world, but for now, let's just get it working. Apply. And there it is. So the idea is just that as enemies are going to pass through one of these bubbles, that they're receiving shielding. And that is one option. The other option is to create one of these per enemy. And so it would essentially travel along with them. Cancel that. So that is another option. It might just be weird though, because these are abstract, mostly sort of cloudy, amorphous enemies. And I don't think that it'll be very easy to make them look contained. So for that reason, I think it might be simplest to go with you have an enemy that travels along the path and it drops these bubble shields on the ground. And they will stay there either until you destroy them or maybe for a fixed amount of time. And that part is to be determined. So what I need to do then is when I come back from break, I'll create the enemy that will drop the bubbles on the ground. I also have in a previous stream I created this enemy, sort of a toxic looking enemy. Let me plop this out here into the world as well. Remove some of these other instances. And in the previous stream, I created the upper portion sprite. And then what I did was I created this masterpiece right here. And that's basically just the sprite that serves as the base particle. It's then tinted green, and there are a lot of them. What I did was I added a droplet to that. And where did that go? This. I added this drop to that enemy, tinted green again, and here is the overall effect of that. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So now it's dripping these green drops. And so similarly to the shielding bubble enemy, I want this one to actually drop some sort of a sludge on the ground. So we're going to have two different enemies. So I'm going to do something similar to this guy to drop the bubble. And so when I come back on the next stream, that's what I'm going to put into the game. So far for today, where we are, we've put in... We already have the toxic enemy. We have the ice enemy. I did not put the shielder enemy in there, but we've got the shield bubble ready to go for when we implement that guy. So, making progress. We managed to trudge our way through the pixel art, and we have a starting point there. So, come back and I will move forward with these other plans. And once I have these enemies, this is only 9, but these are going to serve as a good foundation for the game, for the pace of the game. They'll help determine the tower types, the damage types, and mitigations, that sort of thing. fast, slow, strong. If I put traps in the game that will line the pathway, this toxic guy is going to be a problem for those. So the player will then have to find workarounds. If you have the strong single shot turrets like a sniper, then a lot of those super fast moving enemies are going to be a problem for those, etc. So yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts or ideas for implementations in the future, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching.